All right, hello and welcome to another Expert Inside interview. My name is John Golden from Sales Pop, online sales magazine, and Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from a sunny San Diego. And today I'm delighted to be joined by marketing strategy Sasha Iowa, founder of Sasha Iowa Marketing Group and host of the Uncomplicated Podcast. And today we're going to talk about how to stop wasting money on marketing that doesn't work. Well, Sasha, let's bottom line it. Like, what is the most common mistakes that people make, or where do they make their investments in marketing that doesn't work? Like, what are some of the common myths or misconceptions?
Yeah, so I think if we're going to dive into sort of the common misconceptions and the mistakes, I think where a lot of people start is they start because they've been marketed to, and they
Mm,
start based on what they know or what they've been sort of, educated in the ecosphere of, online or their social media platforms, that this is what they should be doing to grow their business. And that doesn't always necessarily mean that that's going to give them growth for their business, because of the simple fact that they might not be connecting with their audience through that specific
mhm.
marketing channel. So really it's education, it's knowing when and where and what type of channel to utilize based on where you are at in your business, and to understand that process in full, and not just to do what the market is telling you to do.
Yeah, because I feel like some people, especially when they're starting business or small businesses or whatever. I mean, this is the same for most businesses, but is they kind of get that feel like I need to be everywhere. I need to be
Yes.
everywhere instead of like figuring out, as you said, which channel they should be on and where their customers are. And I think it's because sometimes like they don't define their customer, at a granular enough level.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So, the way I work is sort of in a three-part process. And a lot of the times, to your point, not only just defining who your customer is, they actually kind of move away and don't really define their mission and their vision and,
Hmm.
why they do what they do, the way they're doing it, which is like their unique value proposition, and how they're doing it, right? Which is really how it sets themselves apart. I mean, a lot of this buildup in terms of like the creation of their business, of their product and service is so exciting. But then once they hit launch, they're like, where are the clients? Where are the customers? Where is everybody? And it kind of becomes like a deflated balloon. But that's because they haven't been doing the work to really get to the marketing plan, right? And that foundation is so key, because if your content is out of whack, meaning you're really not creating that right sort of message to the pain point of your
Hmm.
consumer or your customer, you're going to lose them, right? Or it's like a lot of the times a lot of clients like to beat a dead horse to come up with this fascinating headline on their website, and it's like, the concept is that if you sell bikes, tell people you sell bikes. Don't
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
them you sell the wind that blows through their hair, because nobody's going to care.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I do feel that I do feel that sometimes marketing departments like fall down on that where they go for clever, or the other thing, Sasha, is sometimes is I see companies and they try to create an online personality that's just doesn't sync with who they are as a company or the market or what. It's like, as you say, I mean, if you sell bikes, you sell bikes, like tell people you sell bikes, don't tell people you sell like days, wonderful sunny days out or whatever,
Yeah.
things like that. Don't make the prospect have to work to understand what you do.
Yeah. And I think, look, there at the end of the day, there's a story to be told. But
Hmm.
that story naturally is the story as to why this particular founder has started, and what is the differentiation of your bike versus the 500
Hmm.
other brands that are out there, right? So there is a nice baseline to build the story, but the story is the why. Why did
Yeah.
you do this? Why did you create this? Not to your point that you're going to get X amount of sunny days on this bike, or like, as I talked about, the wind blowing through your
Hmm.
hair. It's not worth that, right? I think
Hmm.
that we try to your point, to become too clever, thinking that the cleverness is what's going to make us stand out, when the cleverness is actually going to be hindering to actually us getting to the point of having a consumer or a customer take the action that we want them to take the action with, because you're not connecting that problem with the solution, right? And the
Hmm.
solution is your brand, and the problem is, well, I am X customer, the reason why I'd be interested in this bike is because of this, and there are multitude of
Hmm.
different tiers of consumers within the bike industry? Are you somebody that's going to be doing a triathlon? Are you somebody that's going to be doing an Ironman? Or
Mhm.
you just want to have a bike that has a basket in front to put your 2 pound dog and go get groceries and come back, right?
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, as you said, it comes back to that well-defined ideal customer, profile, and that is something I think people don't work hard enough on. I spoke to somebody recently who has done this for a lot of organizations, and they said, you define your customer, then you redefine them, and then define them some more.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And like just to, again to take a step back, and it's
Mhm.
it's not that they're not doing the work. I think that the strategy component that needs to be built out prior to getting to market is what people think that they don't need to be doing.
Mm.
They understand their mission and their vision in their head. They understand that one track of that ideal customer, but the exercise is putting it down on paper. The exercise is squeezing it into knowing, how do I explain to somebody when they ask what I do? And if you really, like, I mean, as Einstein said, if you can't explain it to a child, then you don't know what you're doing. And if
Mm.
you're not focused on your customer, then why are you in business? Because at the end of the day, if you're not picking up on, again, as we keep honing, on
Mhm.
this conversation, the pain point of the customer, then how are you going to connect said marketing channel to your product and service? Marketing is templatized. It's really that simple. The creative pieces of marketing is what is you think outside the box to really get fun and cool about certain things. But social media, digital marketing, all of that works the same, but how you manipulate it to connect to your audience is the differentiating factor.
Yeah, and when you're working on multiple channels as well, like that, where you're putting out your marketing message on multiple channels, you have to make sure that there is an alignment between them. Because I see sometimes I see things fall down where you have one person looking after one part of marketing, and maybe social media is run by somebody completely different, but they're not really that synced up. So you're getting kind of mixed messages.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'll give you an example of a company that I worked for, prior to stepping out on my own and supporting, some of the small business owners that I work with. But our missing link was customer service. So we had basically a system as a service. We were selling B2B marketing options to small to mid-sized companies. Now we were doing super great. We're marketing and sales. We're talking to each other, which isn't always the case because a lot of the times it's church and state.
Hmm.
But in this case, we were really in sync with each other. What the missing link was that we started to see a churn because our onboarding wasn't that great. So at the end of the day, it's not only just about spending the money, bringing your clients in, supporting your sales team, but then it's like, how do we continue that line and that consumer or customer journey throughout the process to ensure that within those 30 to 60, 90 plus days that they maintain their happiness and they're happy with XYZ. And that really is more focused on sort of like a B2B, but B2C, it could be the same thing as well. I used to work for a media company. We had a wine club. A lot of the times we would get a one box purchase and they would cancel after the second or the third
Hmm.
month. How are we then communicating with them in terms of, did you enjoy the wine? Tell us a little bit about this. It's the ongoing communication to make that consumer feel seen in a way.
Hmm.
I know that it sounds crazy and it's, this sort of, pull on the heartstring type of messaging, but a lot of consumers and clients, they want to be involved most of the time post purchase as well. It's not just about the instant gratification. I mean, unless you're buying a swimsuit, that's a different case.
Right, right. No, absolutely. But the thing is, as you said, is that sometimes, like, it's all about getting the customer, and people overlook the fact that every interaction with your brand it's the sum total of your experience. So that if you have a great sales experience, you have a great purchasing experience, but then you, like, later on you feel left on your own, or you have an issue and it doesn't get solved immediately or whatever, then your whole attitude changes. And like you said, is we want to be I think we want to be engaged with, especially because we live in this kind of hands-off world.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that the missing link with a lot of products and services is the community aspect of it.
Hmm.
And I think that a lot of companies miss that community because really it is, if even if you're just buying like a speaker or sound system or whatever it is, having a community where the different consumers can go on and say, how do I do this, or how did you optimize this, or so on and so forth, where it's like it's not used as a marketing channel, but it's
Hmm.
used as like a community of
Yeah.
people that are connected to your brands and service, is something that a lot of brands and services don't do today.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and that's the sense of being left alone. But when they do build a community, you start to feel some level of maybe brand loyalty, or maybe whatever, because you feel like, oh God, I made a good choice because all these other people as well, seem to be enjoying themselves, and the whole and the whole chain is so important. I had an experience recently, with an appliance, right? Uh,
Hmm.
from a very well-known company. I won't name them, but life wasn't good. That's all I'm going
Yeah.
to say. Um, um, purchase a major appliance for quite a lot of money and ordered it, and then they handed it off to a logistics company. And when the issues cropped up, they kept giving me the number to call the logistics company and to
Wow.
deal with all this stuff that had nothing to do with me, right?
Yeah.
And to the point where I canceled everything in the end. They were
Yeah.
literally on their way, and they hadn't, and they told me, "Oh no, we don't do the haul away." And you said, "Well, no, I just paid for the haul away." Oh, I said, "Turn around, take your machine back. I'm done
Yeah.
with this." But the
Yeah.
whole point of the whole experience was that they made me responsible.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. There used to be a time, where the customer is always right. And
Yeah.
now, and that wasn't that long ago. I mean, that
No.
was like more than probably like 15, 20 years ago. I
Hmm.
mean, it was, but then all of a sudden there became this shift, right? In this mentality of that, once you've purchased something, they really move you into another department. As
Yeah.
consumers, we experience this a lot when it comes to our banking systems, which is
Hmm.
crazy because trust is something that needs to be built within your banking system. And it's
Yeah.
like at any point in time with something that is so generic, you're being passed on to 3 to 4 different departments to actually get to the root issue, right?
Yeah.
And it's so disappointing because it's just wild. I mean, I'll give you an example of a company that I worked for that was based on community. And what he basically did was he created a platform that was a new way to market to consumers. So it was a box of free goods that were delivered to Jane or John Smith,
Hmm.
depending on their profile that they filled out, that had 28 different fields. We worked with some of the largest consumer packaged goods companies. Now, because it was free to the consumer, back of the napkin calculations, we couldn't spend more than 75 cents per
Right.
lead. And because of that, we needed to really hyper focus on our community. Now, a lot of people are like, community, that's a marketing channel, or customer service, that's a
Yeah.
marketing
Oh
channel.
yeah.
Yeah. When I got there, we had over 4 million subscribers in our system. By the time we left, we had 6. Why? Because I hired an army of customer service, like women. I actually hired stay-at-home moms, and we had 7 of them. And whenever we had our unboxings live on Sample Tuesday, we were communicating with all of those different people. Even if it was just a random emoji, we high-fived them back. And
Hmm.
that makes somebody feel seen. They tell their friends, I'm having this amazing experience. And guess what? It spread like wildfire. And we didn't pay other than having the actual physical customer service folks on board that were helping driving leads into our system.
Yeah, and I think it's such an important point that you made there about the fact that marketing encompasses so much more than people think, and in its you're communicating your brand all the time. You're communicating your values, and if there's a disconnect between them, then you come off as inauthentic. It's like I can't stand those ones who put customer centric on their website, and then we're all about customers, we're customer centric, and then you have an issue, you call them up, and you realize no, you're not.
Yeah, yeah. And it's crazy. I think it's just like this badge of honor that everyone wants to list, but then they don't abide by it. But,
Hmm.
consumers are getting smarter day by day. And it's just, they're not going to, the threshold of tolerance, like as what happened to you with this appliance on its way to your house,
Hmm.
you're like, I can go find somebody else that's going to give me a better experience.
Yeah, 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 and it's so well, I can tell you the whole story because it even got worse after that. But anyway, I literally got I got the whole issue solved 2 months later. Where
Wow.
Yeah, no, 2 months later, where they hadn't even registered the return. It was sitting back at the logistics company, and again, it was down to I had to call them to sort it out. So it just shows you that you're right. It's like you put all this effort and money into attracting somebody and winning them as a customer, and then you just do everything you can to drive them away.
Oh yeah. I mean, but then it goes down to, I don't care how big you are,
Yeah,
that's money lost. That's
yeah.
money sitting on the table, and that's money that you could be spending somewhere else. So just to think about all the money that these type of companies lose, and this is millions in
Hmm.
comparison to, like,
Yeah,
maybe it's a couple of $1,000s for a small business owner, which is still a lot,
yeah.
but it's a lot of money to just be sitting on the table or have been lost just because of something that could be solved so simplistically.
Yeah, and then as you said, and people say, "Well, what's that got to do with marketing?" Well, it's got a huge amount to do with marketing because now when somebody says, "What I'm in the market for an appliance," you're going to say, "Whatever you do, don't buy online from this company."
Yeah.
I'm going to tell them, "Don't go
For
somewhere else."
sure. For
So
sure.
now they haven't just lost my business; they've lost potential business from other people, and I think you're right. I think that's where companies don't realize that marketing is that all encompassing, and it is every interaction that you have with the organization is a form of marketing.
Yeah, and I mean, to go back to the beginning of our conversation and the question, it's really it's the educational aspect of knowing how the whole system in and of
Mhm.
itself works, and there is a beginning, there is never an end. It's a cyclical nature in terms of where you kind of go through and process, optimization, testing, learning, optimization, testing, learning, and then the whole gamut. And it's not really just focused on the middle portion of just pushing out marketing channels of like digital marketing
Mhm.
or billboard ads or whatever the heck you're doing, or radio ads. But it goes back to, does my message make sense? If we're
Right.
testing a billboard and there was no conversion, it's not that, oh, billboards don't work, it's a waste of money, flush down the toilet. It's because there's a lot of bad billboards out there, let's be honest, and it's just, why are you not looking at this? You can't, like, we need to stop blaming marketing, and we need to go back to the fact that people aren't spending enough time on the actual strategy and the connection and the link of how you speak to what you do and who you serve, and connection to your customer profile.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. It's very, especially nowadays, it's very easy to blame, technology. It's very easy to blame the platform, the billboard or whatever. It's much harder to look at what is your message? Is it resonating? Is it communicated properly in these different channels? And as we've been discussing, most importantly, do we deliver on what we say?
Mhm.
Do
Mhm.
what we claim and what we do, are they in sync? And I think that's the other thing, is I don't think enough companies look at, maybe, shop themselves, if you like, to understand what the customer experience is like, or as you said, even better, engage their community.
Yes, completely. And like, the more we talk about this, I mean, it's to whoever is listening is going to be like, why are we talking so much on customer service? But
Mm,
it really boils down to, and I'll give you two companies. One is a clothing department, which is Nordstrom's, and then the other one is 1-800 Contacts.
mhm.
1-800 Contacts headquarters are facilitated out in Utah. There is, and I have been buying from 1-800 Contacts since the day they started. I have never swayed from going anywhere else to purchase contacts. I have never had a bad experience. Every time I call, it rings once, somebody answers.
Wow.
And this was during COVID. These are people who are working from home. There's never any background noise. They are extremely pleasant. They're super happy. I don't know if there's something in the air in Utah,
Yeah.
but these guys keep me coming back because I actually have a conversation. I feel seen. I feel like my contacts are going to arrive on time. If I have a problem, they solve it, so on and so forth, right? Nordstrom's will take anything back.
Yeah.
Their return policy, I remember, I think it was like one person went there and they tried to return tires and they don't
Yeah.
even sell tires, right?
Exactly. And they
Yeah,
refunded them.
they refunded them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole other story, but I mean, their return policy keeps that customer satisfied and coming back to purchase, which a lot of people would think, but if I allow them to return, are they going to abuse the system? Remember, go back to your customer profile.
Mhm.
You're going to have said X that will potentially abuse,
Yeah.
and you would have said X that will return once, be very happy, probably never return again in the next year or 2 years, right? So it's really divide and conquering, like the personality of your overarching customer, because it is different, right?
Yeah.
And it's the purchasing power and history of that customer that is really going to break down who you're speaking to and how you can hyper target your language.
And it's such a good point you made there, Sasha. Is to not to, and I would say like to don't build your process to exceptions, but also to your point is like don't like focus on that small percentage of people who are going to abuse things and say, well, if we do this, they're good. You know, you might have you say, is it easier for everybody else? Does it make everybody else happy? Okay, well then we'll deal with. There's always going to be people who are going to try and rip you off. That's unavoidable. But if you just hyper focus on preventing that small group, you're going to do it at the detriment of the rest of your customers.
Totally. And I mean, and it's kind of in line with the whole concept of, some clients are like, oh, let's be very careful in terms of the emails that we send because we don't want too many people unsubscribing.
Hmm.
If they're going to unsubscribe, they're going to unsubscribe
Yeah,
and they never are going to be a customer anyway. So
yeah.
don't be afraid of
Hmm.
unsubscribes.
Hmm.
So it's the same thing with this because you're just going to have a variety of different personalities and you're going to need to understand those personalities and go after the one or two or three segments of your customer profile that are the ones that going to keep coming back to you.
Yeah. And if and people just ask themselves, do you how much about the purchasing experience do you remember? But you remember the customer service experiences almost like every
Always.
always, always. And
Always.
because we're so used to poor customer service experience, like I now share whenever I have a really good one, I'm like, wow, I'm amazed. Yeah. And it's not even sometimes a really good one, it's just a decent, proper, as you said, being seen, heard, understood, somebody sorting out the problem. I mean, the bar is pretty low right now. So you want to really focus on that part. And and I just think it's fantastic, that you have outlined this and people understand now that customer service is marketing. It is
Yeah,
your brand.
totally. I mean, and it's also down to the concept that this is another idea, but it's like I live in Miami.
Mhm.
When I used to live in New York, I didn't have these same problems. If a plumber or somebody of service coming to your house said they were coming at 9 o'clock, they showed up at 9 o'clock. In Miami, we are more of on a Latin time where
Mhm.
somebody says nine, they actually mean 9:30 or 9:45. I kid you not. Now there was a plumber who had moved here from Colorado. I called him. He said I'll be there at 9. He was here at 8:55. And I said that alone is going to get you so much more business than
Mhm.
anyone else, right? Because there's a struggle. So it's know your market, outweigh the competition, and you're winning.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, it's absolutely well put. Well, listen, fantastic, Sasha. All of Sasha's information will be below this video, but before we go, please do remind people about what you do.
Yes, so I am a marketing strategist at the core. I have a do it for you marketing agency, sashaiowa.com. But then we also have a small business community over at mymarketermentors.com where you can join us and think of us as the 411 of marketers, where you can jump on once a week and ask us all the questions that you have about marketing, and we can help you stop wasting money.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I encourage you to go and do that. And as you said, like, stop wasting money. That's great, great message. Thank you, Sasha. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
watching
John.
and listening. And I will see you all again soon.